Hi everybody, Monica Bodierski here, artist and author of the Shadowland Tarot, the House of Shadows Lenormand, and lots of other things that I don't tell people about. Which is the point of today's video. Hi everyone, I hope you had a great week. I hope things aren't too stressful given the current situation. They can be pretty trying. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about something that I've received in my mailbag, and people ask me quite frequently. I think because people are interested in creating their own decks, which I think is wonderful. There can never be too many decks out there. But people have asked me, what do you do if somebody is copying you? Aha. That is really common because, well, everyone can access what you do if you're putting it out there, and people can knock off your work. They can use your style. They can suddenly want to create a tarot deck too that looks kind of similar, or they have a similar theme. So I kind of answered this over the years with my students too at OCAD University with artwork, because that's a common issue with artwork as well. Somebody sees something and all of a sudden their work starts to look like your work. So what do you do? Well, there's many things you can do, and everyone's different this way, but let's look at it logically. Is it really a copy? All right, is it inspired by your work, or is it stolen, in your opinion? We can come up with identical ideas. You know, we all work on kind of the same plane at times. We're picking up the zeitgeist or the sign of the times or the vibe of the times. So if in a pandemic, everybody starts creating decks that are kind of darker, yeah, I can understand that. I wouldn't think it was necessarily because someone stole my idea. Now, if it looks a lot like my artwork and this person didn't make art like that before, you know, you might start to get a little bit suspicious. If there are actual passages of things that you've written suddenly cropping up in someone else's writing, or that they're sharing, yeah, and you know them, that can get uncomfortable. You know, copying is a weird thing, right? Appropriation in Western culture, and I've talked about this before in my other videos, is actually the basis for Western artwork. And the lines between being inspired and outright theft get pretty blurry, especially when you're talking about intellectual property. I think when people have asked me what have I done, because of course I've had my work stolen and I have people who copy what I do, a lot of the time it's benign. It can be creepy, but it's benign in the fact that it's not really doing me any great financial harm. If somebody's just copying what I say, if they're taking credit for it, which happens when you teach. You know, some of your students model their behavior after you, and they can sort of quote you as though they've hit a playback button and then kind of pretend that it just came from them, okay? And there's not a lot you can do about that, really, because you are who you are, and especially if you're teaching, people will model. But if it comes down to people taking credit for things that are impacting you financially, that's another story. I would talk to the person, you know, if I know them, and if I don't, I would probably get a lawyer and do a cease and desist order. And that is just business, right? The thing is, it's always tricky to prove somebody is copying you. And do you really want to spend your energy doing that? Personally, I don't. I move fairly quickly, and I'm always creating, and I'm always working on my own voice and who I am. So I don't linger. You know, let somebody copy something I did a couple of years ago. I'm already 10 steps ahead of where I need to be. I'm not in a competition with anybody. And I think that's really important because those people who do that, they're lacking. They don't have a voice and they're trying to find one. If anything, I guess, apart from outright financial theft, I think I feel sorry for people like that because they're floundering. They don't know who they are. And they're just trying to, put on as many different types of clothing as possible to see what fits. And in that case, there's not a lot you can do except focus on yourself and keep moving. So that is my answer to that. Pending, as I said, any kind of legal action, just keep moving ahead and focus on you. You do you, okay? And if people don't stay in their lane, well, what can I say? Their fate is their fate, okay? So, the other thing I wanted to talk about, which I get asked fairly frequently, is shuffling. Now, you might think, what a kind of a strange thing to talk about, shuffling cards. But no, I guess it is a point of concern because it's the first thing you do. Other than choosing a deck that really resonates with you and one that you enjoy. And this can go for advanced readers as well. I mean, we get into a habit of how we shuffle and what we like to do. But do you ever wonder, maybe mix it up a little? A lot of people do. I know I do. I think I shuffle in a certain way, though, just because that's the only way I can shuffle. I've mentioned before, I'm not going to work at a casino anytime soon, so the way I shuffle is pretty straightforward. Here, let me just demonstrate. Let me get my deck out of my handy. Oh, look, my spider bag. Okay. And again, these are fairly standard in size. Sorry for those who find them too large or too small. Just kind of a standard tarot deck size. You have to stick kind of in the middle for that. So what I'm trying to demonstrate here, while talking and chewing gum at the same time, is how I shuffle. Albeit poorly at times, it is a pretty straightforward moving from the back of the deck to the front. That's just how I shuffle. And I've mentioned this before. Other people like to split the deck. They like to do the poker thing. I find these are pretty heavy stock. I don't really bend cards that way. Maybe it's like, I don't know. I feel like I use them enough and they'll get damaged and worn quickly enough. So I tend to be a little more gentle in shuffling. That doesn't mean, though, you can shuffle any way you like. I sometimes, though, I don't suggest, I am not sure why. Is this a thing? Someone tell me in the comments below. Is that like a poker thing? Where people bang the cards like this until they fit in together? Because seriously, I don't know. Maybe I'm too precious with my cards. I just would keep smashing them into one another until they fit. But your technique is your technique. I don't think it really matters to the reading other than you're mixing the cards, you're touching the cards. Someone asked me in an email if I reshuffle, like for any of the layouts that I have in my book, this little book right here, if I reshuffle every time I pull a card. No, I don't. But if you wanted to, I guess you could. I think while I'm focusing and I do one shuffle, I'm thinking about the issue. I've got my hands on the deck, I'm thinking about it, and then we're done. That's just how I do it. Any way you do is fine, but that is what I do. I just stop at that point, and I will peel off the top cards. If you want to fan them out and pull cards at random or spread them all over the table and pull all your cards at once, that's fine. I think, like I said, we just get into a certain groove and tend to stay there, and I think that's fine. That's fine. But that is how I shuffle. Okay, the other thing, woo-wee, we're in a time of transition. I don't know if anyone's noticed that. Big time of transition. So, I thought I would look at, this is on page 192, by the way, of my book, that comes with the Shadowland Tarot. And this is a transition spread during times of change. Okay? So let me just read this because, like, I could just memorize this. No, just because I wrote it. Okay? It's a linear spread specifically used for major transitions in your life. Yeah, or the world around you. And it will help you see 3 changes you need to be aware of and their advice. Okay, shuffle the cards while thinking about your question, situation, or concern, and then place 3 cards in front of you face down from left to right in sequence. All right, let's do that. So get your decks. We're going to do this time of transition. And if you don't have a deck, I'm going to do this not for myself, but for you and the upcoming week. Okay? All right. So, gonna shuffle. Already did. Showed you how. Okay. Shuffling. So, the first card here on the left is a major change that you have undergone recently. And it has affected your outlook at the moment. Okay, so understanding, transitions is about understanding changes that we go through, and we go through a lot of changes. Sometimes they're external, sometimes they're internal, but they tend to go hand in hand. Certainly the pandemic is affecting us in such a way that this transition is affecting everybody. Okay, but let's look at a change, maybe how you've reacted to the change. What is the change in your behavior and in you that you've undergone recently, even if it is within the context of the bigger change? Okay, so that's the first card, and this is for all of you who don't feel like doing a reading. I'm giving you one, okay, for the upcoming week. The 9 of Wands. So, what this card is saying is the major change you've just gone through recently is that you sat down to look at what you've been through and what you've experienced and how you got here. So that little bandage on guy's head there is maybe a wound that's healing, sitting down, reflecting by candlelight, looking through the book of, I forgot I did that. Oh, I remember when I did that. And all the lights here, you're just sitting down and you're taking a time out to look at where you've put your energy in the past. This is a fire card, and it is about where you have put your energy. So, reflecting. So this is the change. What it means is you stop for a moment to look around you to see how you got where you are now. That is the change. You're reflecting. And since we just have the dark moon, that makes sense. Okay, so the second card is where your first transition, which is the reflection, led you to, and the transition you now must face to move forward. Who writes this? Who wrote this book? So let me say that again. It indicates where your first transition, this card, led you, and what you need to really look at now to move on to the third card. So this is helping you move through this time of transition, okay? So the second card I pulled here was the 3 of Swords. So the first card was reflecting. The second card, this 3 of Swords, is saying it made you realize some of the things that hurt. The 3 of Swords is not the most pleasant card. In my deck, there is a person showing a great deal of bravado, while those pins are in a heart that are only worn as a necklace. They're not actually the heart. So there's a lot of implication here of surface and pretense in it didn't really hurt that badly, but that is where some of the pain doesn't heal. That's why the pins are still on the heart, because there needs to be an acceptance that something hurt. Some people don't like pain, so they'll stay in a place of anger. Some people don't like anger, so they'll kind of stay in a place of pain. So take a look at that, okay? Because it's asking you to accept the fact that some things hurt. And if that brings about feelings of discomfort, I understand. But this is in conjunction with what you were reflecting on specifically, okay? So it isn't necessarily this entire litany of everything that's ever hurt you. It is specifically about what you have reflected upon recently, okay? And think about that. We think about stuff every day. Even if you didn't sit down to do meditation, something has crossed your mind recently that you went, I think it's a good time to change that because fill in the blank, okay? Alrighty, and the third card on the far right here indicates the transition you still need to move through. So, to achieve your goal, okay? There's always some kind of an end game in sight here. The goal is to move through this transition to get to the things that you'd like to do, that you would like to achieve, even if you're not certain at this point what they are, okay? So this third card is that. All right, and I have the Ace of Pentacles. So, being an Earth card and being the beginning and starting off with this, what looks like a giant boulder, but it is actually a crystal ball, is not only a rock, but it's looking into the future and it is beginning to manifest and make the thing. You just have to start. You need to make the thing. Sometimes the Ace of Pentacles is a gift, the gift of being able to manifest and make something physical, okay, in your environment. So take a look at that. What can you actually do? So rather than this being about thought or feeling or energy, it is about something that you can make, something physical. Could be your health. Do you need to start something with your health? Is it your diet? Is it a move? Do you need to make something, draw something? It is just do the thing. Okay, so this week, go through those steps. Give this spread a try yourself. Come up with your own 3 cards. Okay, the 3 changes. All right, the change that put you on this path, that got you here to this point, that triggered this whole transition. Looking at the middle card, which is what is the next thing that you need to look at and move through, and what is that third thing to help you out the other side of this whole thing. Apparently it's making something for many of you. Okay, thank you so much. Remember, you can always find me at my website. I offer classes, I give readings, I give consultations, and I do sell a few products. Please come and visit my website. Also, leave comments below. Let me know how you're doing, how this worked out for you. Let me know too if you'd like to see something different in videos. You know, sometimes when people ask that, you know, the people viewing go, oh my God, you don't know what to do. Yeah, sure, I know what to do, but I just don't want to be greedy and suck up all the air just going blah, blah, blah. I try to answer your questions, but maybe there's something else you'd like to see. Please leave your suggestions below. I will be happy to you know, short of eating 1,000 hot dogs or something really peculiar, be happy to oblige. So, everybody, have a wonderful week. Stay safe, stay healthy, look out for one another, check on your neighbors, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.